Welcome back to Simply Satisfied. I'm your host, Greg. And today I'm joined by Giuliana. She's got, we've had a chance to talk a little bit before the show, and she's got like very interesting story. Super excited for her to be here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. And this is a really, really good episode of the show because it's actually the first in-person show for Simply Satisfied.
Yeah.
So hopefully I get to do more of these in the future because it's a little awkward. It's, it's a big difference from staring at a computer screen, but it's okay. So Giuliana, I know we've talked a little bit about it, but for the audience, for the listeners, walk me through what led you to today.
So it's been quite the journey. My whole life has been about medicine. Starting way back when I was a gymnast. So I was a competitive athlete and it was great. And I loved my time there. And then I got to high school and I was like, look, I got to do something else. Everyone else is growing up and, they have boobs and I look like a little boy because I was just, and, I was an athlete. So, I had like more abs than anyone else. And I was like, Mom, like, why does everyone else have like, shape? And I'm just a little boy. So I was like, I'm done. I'm over it. Move on to the next thing. And my grandfather, he was an aerospace physicist at NASA. He was a rocket scientist. And he told me, he goes, Giuliana, this is one of the last things he said to me, and I don't say that jokingly. I laughed. But he said, and he was Italian, so he had this strong Italian accent. He was like, look, gymnastics is great. And it taught you, amazing things. But what is it going to do at the end? Sure, maybe you could go to the Olympics. Maybe you could do something with it. But then what? If you want to change the world, you have to go into science. That's what he told me. That's what he told me. He goes, if you want to change the world, you must go into science. So he said, gymnastics was great for a time. It taught you things, but it's time to move on and focus on school.
Yeah.
Because if you focus on your academics. And he was one of those people that, you could get the highest grade in the class. You get like a 96 and you'd bring it home and you'd like, why didn't you get 100? Why didn't you?
Okay.
Yeah. But it was in a loving way.
Yeah.
I was the grandchild, so I didn't get the full brunt of it. That was more my mom.
That's probably way worse for the generation before.
Oh yeah. So they, moved over from Italy and it's my mom and 3 other brothers and sisters. And all of them are doctors or dentists.
Yeah.
So, you did well, but it only took a little bit. So I did gymnastics and I stopped. Then I coached. And then my whole life then was about getting into college. I went to, and of course, I had my fun and everything like that. But, that was my focus. So in high school, I was a coach. I also worked another job at a nail salon. I was dual enrolled. I was on the flag football team and I was on the cheer team.
Really?
Yeah. So a cheer team senior year, that was it. And I did it because my friends were in it. They were like, it's our senior year, we're all doing it. And I was like, all right. Whatever. We'll do it together. Yeah. And so that was those were my high school years. I went to college. I had a great time in college. It was awesome. My freshman year, I thought, oh, wow, maybe I can be a gymnast again. That was a terrible idea. I think I did 2 weeks and my body was in so much pain. I had to give it up. It was like 4 years since I had done anything. I go back to the gym and I was like, I can do it all.
Yeah.
Watch me.
It's like riding a bike.
It's like riding a bike. And I didn't, but my body did not feel good. So I was doing that and I was also on the flag football team. And then I remember they were saying you need to get like academic excuse letters if you want to leave practice. And I was like, all right. Look, it's my freshman year. I'm in organic chemistry and all these different classes. If I have to study, I'm not going to get an academic excuse letter for a club team.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. I'm not doing it. I left that. And then it was all about, getting hours, to go to medical school. You have to get clinical hours and shadowing hours and you have to, work. You have to have leadership time. You have to have volunteer hours. I mean, it's this whole process. And so that was, what I was mostly focused on. And then I went to medical school. I did do an internship. I did an internship with Johnson & Johnson, DePuy Synthes, which is the orthopedic company of Johnson & Johnson. Between my sophomore and junior year, summer, I was down in West Palm. And it was great. It was an incredible experience. I kind of got to see the business side of things, which I had no idea about. When you're going through that medical school route, they don't teach you anything about business side. You don't know anything.
Wait, really?
No, They don't teach you anything about the business side.
All science.
All science. All science. Yeah. And I took some business classes because I had an ex-boyfriend of mine who was very good in business. He said, look, no matter what you do, you should learn about business because business is going to be involved in everything. So he's like, take some classes. And I said, okay. And I took some classes and I loved it. Those were like my break from my science classes. They were talking about communication and networking and creating connections.
Yeah.
The whole business world, which I was so new to, but it was so exciting. And I love meeting people and talking and doing all the things in business. I was like, this is great. So I went up to my professor and I said, look, medicine is my passion. Love medicine. Is there any way I can combine business with this? I love what you were talking about with being able to take something and then break it down and describe it in layman terms to a group of people. I was like, I really like that. Is there any way I can combine the two? He goes, let me get you in contact with Aldo Denti. Can I say names on here?
Aldo Denti? Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. It's like, can I say names on here? Yeah. Aldo Denti, he worked for Diffuse Dentis down in Woods Palm. And then that's kind of how that internship happened. Yeah. And I was under the Global Growth Marketing Department.
Yeah.
What was super interesting about this internship was I was able to explore a bunch of different sides of it. So I was able to go into the R&D lab. I was able to go shadow physicians or go shadow sales reps and then work in the global marketing department and all these different departments. I have to say, the global growth marketing department, I sat in an hour-long meeting about the definition of connectivity one time. And I was like, I can't do this. I was like, this is really boring. This is really bad. I was like,
You don't know.
Yeah, I was like, I could tell you guys what it means and we can move on. But that's just corporate world. I feel like a lot of times in the corporate world, people will try to do things to kind of make their job make sense, even though their job isn't quite needed. I feel like they try to, oh no, we do something.
Yeah.
This is a perfect example. In the sales. So when I left medical school, and I'll get there, but when I left medical school, the first thing people told me, they were like, go be a sales rep. That's like the greatest transition, right? Medical school to being a sales rep. You already know about it. And it was very frustrating to me to learn about it because, you go in as a sales associate and then you're like a territory manager or something like that. But the crazy thing is that what you're doing doesn't really change. You actually just get more crap to deal with. Like you don't actually move or do anything different.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. And maybe you have a little bit more administrative stuff, but like they just give people these names and these roles in these corporate companies to make them feel like they're moving up in something and doing something, but they're really just doing the same thing that they did 10 years ago when they started. And it's a very interesting thing to think about. It's like, holy cow, it's great for the company because again, they're making their employees feel like they're treated well and they're doing all this stuff, which I'm sure they are. But if you think about it, you're not really moving up in the corporate world.
No, you just, maybe got a pay increase, but probably not.
Yeah. Well, a lot of them go from salary when they first come on to straight commission after. Yeah.
I feel like I would want to just stay at salary.
Well, there you go. So, and if your company does good, then that's good. You can make more money doing that. But if it doesn't, well, it's like you go from this stable entry position to the next level. You get more pressure on you because now it's like, it's on you to make your money.
Yeah.
Which, okay, now there's not like, but you don't really have that,
correct
baseline, pillow.
I did gyms that were just like that. You had a 6-month transition period, they called it, to start out to build a clientele.
Yeah.
And then after that 6 months, you no longer got hourly pay.
Right.
You were all commission.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you haven't built a clientele, you're screwed.
Right. So very interesting world. But I remember, that was kind of my first introduction into business. And again, I liked parts of it. I hated other parts of it. And then after that, I went to medical school and I got there and I was down in the Bahamas. And
The Bahamas.
yeah, I was down in the Bahamas.
What?
Yeah, I went to Western Atlantic University.
Okay.
And the reason why I did that, so I had a great GPA. My GPA was like 3.7 or 3.8. So it was okay. I mean, it was decent.
Way better than mine.
Okay, yeah. This is decent. I had a major in cell molecular neuroscience. I had all the shadowing, all the volunteer, all of these different things. And then I had to take the MCAT. Now, the MCAT was my downfall. That damn test. Look, I'll tell you what. This test is not something that you can just study for and go take, right? It's like you plan and then you study for 3 to 6 months. Some people study for a year.
What?
It's insane. It's an 8-hour test, 7.5. Okay. And you have these different sections about everything you've ever learned: biochem, physics, ecology, sociology, everything. And the way that they test it is to screw you over. It's literally to screw you over. And everything in there, you have to learn how to take the test. You can't just learn. Half of your studying is learning content. The other half is learning how to take the test.
How to take, testing.
One of the most difficult sections is called CARS. CARS is just reading comprehension, but it is one of the most difficult sections.
That sounds awful.
It's insane. So I'm dyslexic, and I've had dyslexia my entire life, obviously. And I think it was in 2nd grade was when they first diagnosed me. And, I went through all this testing. You have to go through hours and hours of testing. And then they're like, okay, you do have it. Like, you are slow. Congratulations.
Wow.
Now you get to go take it in the special kids class. I'm like, perfect. And so since 2nd grade, I had time and that was always what I through all my tests and everything. And even a little bit of dyscalculia as well. So you have dyslexia, which is letters. Dyscalculia is the number side.
Okay.
I got it all. Lucky me. And so I had, that time since 2nd grade, always time and a half. When I got to the MCAT, you have to go through the AMC. To fill out applications for medical school, it's a bitch and a half. Sorry, I don't know if I can cuss, but it's a bitch and a half. It really is. Like, it is the worst process ever. You have primary, secondary, all these different things. And then you go through and, so before that, I had to take the MCAT and I had to fill out a similar application to that to get accommodations for the MCAT.
Okay.
I asked for time and a half.
Yeah.
Okay. When I first applied, they make you fill out everything. And you even have to fill out stuff about your family. Like, what does your brother do? What does your mom do? What does your dad do? What did they make? Oh, everything.
Why?
That's just how they are. That's just how they are. Doesn't make sense. It shouldn't be a thing. All that DEI stuff should.
That's the system.
That's the system
At work.
Right. They're looking at how much money your parents are making, all these different things. And some people, with physician parents are nervous to put, that their parents are physicians, because a lot of these medical schools want a story now. They don't want the regular person who's like, hey, I like science and I like medicine and I like, I just want to be a physician. That's not good enough. You have to have a story. You have to have a elaborate
something
story.
that wows them.
Something that.
I think Harvard is going through something similar too, where they don't want to just hear, oh, my dad was Harvard, my grandpa was Harvard. Like, they want to hear something that wows them. Yeah.
Right. But the thing is that we have a shortage of physicians, and now they want these people who have these elaborate stories. So what a lot of people do is take their story and they make it elaborate, and they add fluff and they add this and that to make it sound appealing to these medical schools.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to just accept the person who says, hey, I like science. Yes, there's good and bad to that, because medical school is hard. They don't want to bring in a bunch of people who are going to leave, right? But then at the same time, it takes away from someone who is just a really good student and they do like medicine and they like science and they didn't have anything crazy happen to them throughout their life, but now they can't get in because they don't really have a story. So, it's an interesting concept. But going back to the MCAT, so I had to fill out this application. It's a long application. You have to get, letters from people. You have to submit everything you've ever had from all your dyslexia stuff, and onward, right? And I submit it, and I started that in January the year before. They denied me. Okay. Just straight up, they're like, nope, we can't do it. So my mom's friend, who's an attorney who has dyslexia and ADD, and he had to fight for his stuff going through law school and all of that. He was like, look, I'm going to help you because like this isn't the kind of law that I do, but I'm very passionate about this, right? I had to fight myself, but I want to fight the system about this. And so he helped me. He put a letter together from an attorney and was like, you guys can't do this. Like she has all this record. Like, well, what are you denying?
Mm-hmm.
Again, I asked for time and a half. They told me 3 days before my test date that they gave me a partial approval. Okay. A partial approval. When I asked for time and a half, they gave me time and a quarter.
Okay.
They gave me time and a quarter. I was like, you know what?
So
Whatever.
like
I'll
kind
take it.
of,
Yeah, I'll take it. Whatever. That's fine. They gave me time and a quarter. And then they called me and they said, yep, you got to prove your time and a quarter. We'll put it on the test. I was like, great. I'll take anything I can get right now because I can't get through this damn test. And then they call me back probably an hour later and they say, hey, it's actually too close to the test date. We can't add that on. We can't add that on. And I was like, really? Like you guys knew my test date. Like, why'd you even call me? Like, that's ridiculous. So what am I supposed to do? And they're like, well, you can take it or not. Like, but whatever you want. And keep in mind, this test is $500, $375 maybe, 500. I don't know, somewhere in between. It's a couple of $100s. It's an expensive test. It's just like, whatever. I guess I'm not going to take it. Or like, oops, I guess I'll just use this one as a trial. It's expensive. Also, and I mean, schools look at every score that you've ever.
Yeah.
Okay. So they tell me that 3 days before. Then they tell me they can't use it. Then we get there. I take the test. The people at Pearson are seeing that I'm like not getting through it at all. And they're like, we're going to write them a letter for you. So the people at the Pearson View Testing Center write them a letter as well. The attorney that I was working with, my mom's friend, also wrote them a letter and was like, what the hell? Like, what the hell are you guys doing?
Yeah.
And it's like fully 8 hours. I get out of my 8-hour test and then they call me and they say, hey, actually, you can take it again. We'll give you the time and a quarter, but you have to take it in 2 weeks. So I had to take another 8-hour exam in 2 weeks. Okay. Like they say, what, in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I took the MCAT twice in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Did it. Still didn't get it. The first time I didn't have extra time. Didn't get through it. Second time I got through a little bit more. Still couldn't get through it because I can't. I mean, the whole thing is reading comprehension. Like by the 6th hour, my brain is like, wait.
Fried.
The thing about dyslexia is that it gets worse. The more you use it, the more you use your brain, the worse it gets. Okay. Over time, it'll get better. Like as you continue to read and you continue to like, you get tired. You get brain fatigue. And then you mix things up even more and you read things backwards even more. So towards the end of that test, you're like, holy cow, I don't even know what the hell I'm reading. None of this makes sense.
It all just looks like German.
It's all just
You're like, huh?
Oh, right. You're like, what? Like, that can't be right. And
It's
again,
probably even harder with medical terms too.
right.
Like,
Yeah.
you got all this Latin in there and you're like, what?
Everything. I mean, this is hard for people that don't have dyslexia, right? Like this is a challenge for them. So like, it's tough. And even the sections that are the reading comprehension section are all about reading comprehension. Like what they'll do is they'll give you a passage that's very difficult to read. You're not going to know half the stuff in there. And then you have to answer questions about it.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's the MCAT.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I took that second test. Still didn't do very well. And then I applied again for accommodation. By January the following year, they finally gave me time. Okay. It had been a year since I initially applied. What's very frustrating about that is that now I have to wait a whole nother year. I have to wait a whole nother application cycle.
Take it.
To take it. Oh, no, not to take it, but to apply.
What?
Yeah, you apply and then you wait a year and then you start. Yeah. So that delays your life, especially being a female, being a female and wanting to have a family. It's doable, but like, I want to get started.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to wait, and just on their timing, like, I want to get started. I want to do this. Like, this is what I want to do. And so I was like, you know what? There's this Caribbean school, and it's not as good as going to an American school.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'll have the same education. It used the same. So, you can use the test bank of questions. Like a school can use the same test bank of questions that they would get on like the USMLE step 1 and step 2. So they did that. Following 2 years, we're in the States in Chicago. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm just going to do it as on scholarship the first year.
Yeah.
Might as well. Like I was down in the Bahamas, which is beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Like every time that I always wanted my peace and my place, I would go to the Bahamas. I wouldn't go to the Bahamas. That'd be crazy. But I'd go to right. So
Yeah.
I'm just taking a trip to the Bahamas. No, I would go to the beach. Like if I really wanted to connect with God and like connect with me and just really understand, like I'm at the beach. At the beach during sunrise, whatever. Like that's where I am. Or driving in my car. So I was like, this is a perfect place. It's a perfect place for me. I got to bring my dog down there, Biggie. He loved it. He was, I don't know if you can put this on there, but he was the whitest thing on the island. Like by far, both of us were. And, but yeah, so it was an incredible experience. I mean, the Bahamians are so nice. They're incredible people. You're like family immediately. The moment you step on that island, everyone's like family. The guy across the street from me brought me 10 pounds of lobster. Yeah. He was lobster, he was the lobster guy and he brought me 10 pounds of lobster. Yeah. I mean, it was just the most amazing experience. I would come home from class, walk through the garden, find different fruits, study, go back outside, look at the fish. I mean, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
But what I saw when I got there, and this is across all medical schools, I have friends that are, going to school in Miami. I have friends that are up in Chicago. I have friends all over that are in school in the States, outside of States, all these different things. The more I learned about the medical field, the more I didn't love it. Because what I loved about medicine, when I fell in love with medicine, it was when I was a medical assistant scribe, and I would sit there and I'd bring a patient back and I'd learn about them. I'd learn about their story and just all the things that they went through. And then I'd be able to cry with them and pray with them and laugh with them and do all these amazing human connection things. That was not like, it wasn't frowned upon, but they also said you have 10 minutes, right? You have 10 minutes with the patient. That's all you're going to get, because unfortunately, you're probably going to be working for a hospital or something like that, and you have to see a certain number of patients a day. Mm-hmm. So you can't sit there and get to know a patient. There's issues with that, right? You're not learning about a person holistically. You're not learning about all of these different diseases or things they've had that could correlate to whatever is going on in their life right now.
Yeah.
Also, in medicine, you specialize. Once you're in that specialty, it's hard for you to think outside of that box. You can go to a nutritionist, or, maybe someone in medicine. So they're in medicine, but, let's say an obesity medicine physician. And they say, okay, what's going on is because of what you ate. Okay. Yep. Then you could go to an orthopedic surgeon and they could say, well, it's actually because there's, something going on in your back.
Yeah.
They're going to diagnose you, and then you can go to a dermatologist and they're like, it's contact dermatitis, right? They're going to diagnose you based on their specialty. It's not their fault, but it's just how the system plays out. They don't allow people to look at them as a whole. They don't allow physicians to take the time to look at a patient as a whole. And then now these patients are getting, all these different medications, and none of these doctors are double checking. Okay. And now they have all these tests and all these different things that are going on, and no one's putting the pieces together. Mm-hmm. They get a diagnosis over here. They get a diagnosis here. And then they have hundreds of thousands of dollars that they have to pay. Okay. Or that the insurance company has to pay, but is going to fight. Okay. And that's a whole nother story. So what I started to see was that being in medicine as a physician, I would not be able to fight that. I would not be able to fight that situation.
Yeah.
I could gain seniority over time and then practice the way that I want to practice. But gaining seniority as a physician isn't easy.
It's a long time.
It takes a long time. Seniority would be maybe when I'm 55, 60. Oh. Okay. Then I can practice the way that I want to practice.
10 years.
10 years, and then you retire. Right. You cannot, it's very difficult to change the system from the inside. You
Okay.
can, and people, you can treat each patient the way that you want to treat them once you get that seniority. But when you're first coming on, you're told, hey, you got to see these people. You got to do this. Like, this is how you got to do it. Right. So it's very hard to fight that. What's frustrating is that these physicians will go to work every day and they'll get burnt out because for years they've been trying to fight this system. For years they've been trying to fight all of these medications and these drug companies and all these things, but there's so much else that goes into it, right? The hospital is trying to help them, right? They're thinking monetary, they're thinking, profit. Okay, the insurance companies aren't going to help them. Okay, the people sometimes don't even help themselves. Okay, so that's also where it gets challenging because you can say, look, like I can give you the keys to life. I can give you how to live a healthy life, how to reverse your disease, how to do these things. Or do you just want this pill? Right? So what are people going to choose? Because right now we want quick fixes, right? We're on social media. We're on all these these high dopaminergic surges that we get all the time. So we want quick things because that's what we're used to. Okay. We have so much dopamine running through our body. Like we need something quick to get that next surge. We don't want to wait. Patience is not our strong suit at the moment. It's not.
No.
So telling people, hey, I can do this for you, like I can show you how to live. I can show you how to reverse this and like just through eating and exercise. They don't want to. They want the quick and easy fix. But then there's people that will, okay? And there's people that are like, look, I just didn't know. No one told me, right? No one took the time. When I was a medical assistant and I would sit there with some patients and cry with them and pray with them. Well, the feelings, like I can't even describe to you how powerful that was. When they would look at me and say, no one has taken this time to sit with me.
Yeah.
Like you sat with me and prayed with me. I couldn't even give them medical advice as a medical assistant. I can't.
Yeah.
I'm there to take their history. But to sit there and pray with them, they felt so much relief and so much connection with someone that they've never felt before. And when you're going to a physician, it's not because you're happy. It's not because good things are going on. It's scary things. I was in a neurology office. Okay. I was in a neuro-ophthalmology office. So different things are going on that scare people, especially neurologic things, right? People they don't feel good when they can't remember what's going on. Like that's scary. And no one's taking the time to sit with them and really appreciate and talk to them about their disease and about what's going on. So to sit there and just take that time to pray with them is like, I don't even have the words to describe how powerful that was. And for me to not be able to do that just threw me for a loop. It pushed me so far away from medicine because that's what I loved about medicine is that, at the end of the day, we're supposed to love. Like that is everyone here. We are supposed to love. Okay. If I can't express that kind of love, the kind that God would give us, and I can't express that kind of love because only He can give that kind of love. But if I'm just living day to day in this system that isn't allowing me to heal, with more than just medication, with more than just coding a sickness, what am I doing? What am I promoting? God gave us amazing things to heal. He gave us food and the ability to move so we can heal our bodies. Our bodies are made to succeed. Our bodies are made to promote, life and beautiful things. Like that's what we should be teaching. That's what we should be taking the time to teach, not just falling into a system that is promoting profit, right? That is promoting when can we see the next patient? So after all of that, and a big thing, I remember when you first get to medical school, you go through all the biochemical pathways.
Yeah.
You start with glycolysis and then into the Krebs cycle and the TCA cycle. And then, you have the fatty acid synthesis and the pentose phosphate pathway. And you learn how all these different things are connected. And if one, enzyme isn't working, how that affects the rest. also learn how insulin and different drugs affect these pathways, which is a lost art. Okay. I think a lot more physicians should be trained, and have continuous training about what certain drugs are doing to people.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of just prescribing them. Be like, well, I know this helps with this, but like, what is it actually doing? Okay. Um, and, and, uh, and the reason why I say that is because people have reactions to these drugs, right? We know, people can have drug reactions and they'll think that it's some other reason. Instead of just knowing the biochemistry of what that drug's doing and realizing, oh no, it's this medication, they'll just prescribe them another medication because they think it's something else that's going on, right? So if they just took the time to understand, oh no, this is what this drug is affecting, and that's why it could be causing this reaction, they're thinking, oh no, it's because, some other completely different reason that I'm going to prescribe you another medication for.
Yeah.
Okay. But I was going through these pathways and I saw that insulin stimulates the cholesterol pathway and the fatty acid synthesis pathway. Not all fatty acids are good. So we're making more fatty acids and we're making more cholesterol. We need insulin. Insulin is good. Too much insulin
It's bad.
is bad. We have these type 2 diabetic patients, type 1, okay, but type 2, we have these type 2 diabetic patients. Type 2 diabetes is reversible. A lot of it is reversible.
People don't know that.
People don't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. I sat in a meeting the other day with someone who was like, chronic disease, like type 2 diabetes. And I was like, it is reversible. And they were like, are you sure? And I was like, yes. It might be tough, tougher for some people than others. And some people, it might not be as reversible, but, we can help it or fix a lot of it through just food, diet, and exercise. Okay. So, when we have too much insulin, we have these people on hundreds of units of insulin and we're not really checking and we're not really trying to help them, do all these different things, to lose their weight, to bring down their cholesterol. And now we're giving them this drug that's going to make more cholesterol and more fatty acids. Now we're making them sicker. Okay. Now we're making them sicker, which again goes back to the pharmaceutical companies and all these different companies that are going to make more money from them.
Yep.
But I mean, I brought it to my professor and I was like, is this right? Am I tracking this right? Like, am I going through the pathway correctly and understanding that insulin is causing all this? And they're like, yes. They were like, exactly. You're starting to see it. They're like, why do you think we're here teaching and not working? Like, so many of them were so fed up with the system that they couldn't, they couldn't morally go back into it and be okay with it. Especially after COVID, someone came from New York and places like that where, y'all know what happened in New York during COVID and those crazy places. They just were so broken from that, from seeing, and it was crazy talking to one of my professors in particular. So that we came to class one day and they showed us this video about this lady whose husband died during COVID and no one told her. No one told her.
You mean no one told?
No one told her that he died. Like, she had to call the hospital and be like, where's my husband?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, he died. No one told her. She didn't know who he was. Then my professor walks up there and says, okay, what do you guys think about this? And people are like, that's terrible. All this stuff, blah, 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 all this stuff. And then he tells his story and his side of it. Okay. There were 3 doctors that were supposed to be on that floor. One of them got COVID and died. The other one got breast cancer. He was the only physician on that. He said people would come in. We didn't have COVID. So in the video, the girl was talking about how they didn't even give him a COVID test. They didn't give him anything. She said, we didn't have COVID tests. We didn't have anything. In the beginning, when we didn't know what was going on, like, we didn't have enough COVID tests. We didn't have enough beds for everyone. We didn't even have names of people. He goes, I would sign 5 death certificates a day of people that I never even went in and saw. Like, we didn't have the people, we didn't have the help, we didn't have the technology to like give this, to do anything about it. Like, we couldn't.
Yeah.
And when he was telling this story, he was in tears. And everyone in the class kind of just sat back and they were like, okay.
Wow.
Wow. I understand, because it's so easy from the outside. Like, blame the physician, blame this, blame that. But like, I don't even know where I was going with that. But it's so easy, right? To like, just be like, they're at fault, but like, we also are pushed into this system that puts us into this box where we can't give the help that's needed.
Mhm.
Right. And then that normalizes a lot of other, it normalizes, instead of giving someone the time to talk to them about their body and about what's going on in their body, to just give them a drug. Okay. So it normalizes, the idea of like just getting that quick fix, because I'm like trying to relate this all back together, and it's all, there's so many ideas, there's so many things I want to say, and there's so much to it, but it's just the idea that we're in this system, and this system has taught us to be in this box, right? And to get the drug to fix, to go see the physician, to go, do this, that, and the other, instead of, hey, how can I change my life? How can I learn what's really going on in my body?
Yeah.
How can I take the time to understand my temple, right? My body, instead of, hey, just go to the physician and then,
Yeah.
they're going to prescribe me a drug and now it's going to be okay. Yeah. Let me just stop. Let me just stop
So-
there and like
You left medical school,
okay.
right?
Totally got on a tangent.
You're good. You're good. You're good.
Totally
So
got it.
you left medical school
Yeah.
because of the system.
Yeah.
Then what happened?
So I left medical school, hated it. Okay. I loved the people. I loved my professors. I loved the people I was with, but I didn't like the system. So I left. And then I said my prayers and I said, okay, God, my whole life has been about medicine. But what now? Where do you want me to be? And I was saying my prayers and I was, trying to apply to all these different jobs, and I couldn't figure out where to go or what to do. And I applied to this one job and I drive up to Orlando and I do this interview and I was like, that's really weird. I don't really want to work here.
Yeah.
And I get in the elevator with this lady and she's super sweet. And we start talking. She's like, I love your pants, all this stuff. And she's like, you know what? I have a feeling about you. I'm taking you back upstairs. And I said, oh, okay. Where are we going? And she's like, just come with me. And I was like, all right, sure.
Okay.
So we go back upstairs and she's like, okay, come with me. And we go into this office
Mhm.
and she goes, sit down. Like they're going to do an information session. And I was like, I don't know where I am. I don't know what I'm doing. Didn't know it at the time, but I was asked. Okay. And and I sit down and this guy, he gives this whole spiel about what Affleck is and, how you make money and all these different things. People are like, yeah, the duck. And I was like, I have no idea who the duck is. Like, I don't know what this is. I don't know where I am. And it's kind of comical to me it was comical to me at that point because I was sitting there talking about insurance, which is what I hated the most at that point in my life. I had such a strong hatred towards that because
Like what kind of hatred? Because I've always hated insurance. I don't understand why people pay a subscription to live in the country.
Right.
Right.
It was what kind of hatred? I mean, it was a hatred for everything because it was a hatred for everything about it because insurance was supposed to be good.
Yeah.
Insurance is supposed to help you, but it's misused. It's abused. They take advantage of people. Right. And now the insurance companies have the power. They do whatever they want. And I'll get into that. In a second. But I'm sitting there kind of like chuckling. I was like, I'm not doing this. This is insurance. Gross. This is why I left. And I'm sitting with this kid next to me and, we're just talking and I'm just kind of making jokes with him. And I told him the same thing. I'm like, I'm not doing this. I was just kind of laughing. And then after I talked to the guy that gave the presentation and I told him my story and I was like, this is what's going on. But like, I don't know if I really want to be here.
Yeah.
And he's like, look, we'll pay for everything. Like we'll pay for your, your pre-licensing and stuff. So like, just, go do it. You don't have anything else going on. Just try it. And I was like, well, that's a really good point. I don't have anything else going on. And my parents are mad that I'm at home right now because after medical school, moved back home.
Yeah.
My parents were like, you got to get a job. You got to get a
job. Yeah.
And I was just, hanging out for a month. And my parents were like, no, like, you got to get out of here. So I was like, that's fair. Okay, deal. I'll take you up on that offer. So, I went, got my license. it was 2 weeks. So 1 week I was moving up to Orlando. The second week I was studying and took the test at the end of that week. And I passed. And then I go in and, I kind of expressed to my superiors there about my thoughts of insurance. I was like, it's very difficult for me to see the good in this. And they're like, wait, so you sit down with your first claim, when someone really needs it and like you really get them the help that they need. Okay. And I did it for a few months and it was pretty good, but I still struggled with that idea that I was still, number one, making money for someone else. And which, I guess that wasn't number one, but number one, the idea of like, I still felt like I was like grimy in a way doing it.
Yeah.
Like the grimy little sales.
You feel salesy, you feel, yeah.
Yeah. And it nothing against Aflac. Aflac is an incredible company. I'm not trying to crap on them in any way, but it's just the insurance industry as a whole.
Process. Yeah.
The process. And I still felt unsettled and I was praying. I was like, God, right? Is this way? Well, really? Like, it has to be something else, please. And, I'm like learning all these different things about it and all these different sides of insurance and IULs and, whole life, term life, everything under the sun. And, it was interesting for me to learn about because I had no idea, insurance can be a little like confusing in a way. Like, I feel like they kind of throw people for a loop.
Oh yeah, I get
Sometimes.
confused all the time.
Yeah,
I have no idea what I'm paying for.
exactly. And I think that's why they do it. To confuse people so they don't look too far into it.
Yep.
And yeah, so I did that for a few weeks and I was like, I don't know if this is really right. I don't think I can do that. And I kind of, where did I go from there? So benefits, I'm trying to think what happened. So I had this idea of creating a company, an insurance company, to kind of reframe the system. Like, I wanted to reframe the healthcare system because my idea was like, look, I can't change the healthcare system from the inside. It's not possible. I'd have to do something from the outside, but how? Because I can't just create my own little like healthcare world. Like, that's not gonna happen. Yeah. But then this insurance thing came in, and I was like, okay, God, I see kind of what could happen here. Again, I don't know his plan at all, but I was like, I kind of see what could happen here. I have the insurance side and the healthcare background to kind of possibly make this happen. I could totally go in from the insurance side because it's easier to create something from there and then bring it over to the healthcare side. Okay. So my idea would be to create an insurance company that is promoting community. It promotes healthy eating, active lifestyle. Okay. And that's also bringing in my mom's company, Shield of Life. She's an obesity medicine physician and, she has reversed diabetes. She's reversed a lot of these different diabetic neuropathies, things like that. She's helped out with eye diseases just by teaching people how to live.
Yeah. And
she's done incredible things. And, growing up, it was a process because she was initially in internal medicine and recently switched over to obesity medicine. And I think, God has certain, plans for life. And I think it's interesting that we both had these experiences. And I remember when I first went to medical school, she was kind of, or I think it was when I first went to college, she would tell me, that was when she was really trying to get into like, learning about why certain foods are, doing, she had been doing this research for years, but like, I feel like college was like when she was like, okay, no, this is real stuff.
Yeah.
This is real stuff.
Yeah.
And, so when I first went to college, that's when she was really getting into it. And she, she would tell me, oh, you don't eat this, like, be careful with this. I was like, whatever, like, no, like, I'm going to go drink and be in college and do whatever. It wasn't until I saw it for myself. It wasn't until I went to medical school and started to understand these pathways and started to understand all these different things and see how it affects people that I started to understand. So ideally, my company would start as an insurance company, bring her company in where she's teaching physicians and healthcare providers more than just the basic, science that we learn in medical school. but really teaching them and helping them understand the biochemistry and fully what's going on and how to reverse disease, and not with pills, not with herbal medications, not with anything weird,
Essential
not with essential oils. Like, God gave us food to eat.
Yeah.
That's how we should eat. God gave us our bodies that move. We should move them. Just teaching people and helping them understand that. Okay. So I'd love to have that. And then I'd love to have grocery stores that are supplied by local farmers. And if you have insurance, then you can shop there at reduced prices. And then I'd also love to do, partnerships with glucose monitor, companies. And I know that you can't do that unless you have a prescription. But if you say you're part of a study, then it's possible. So I don't know. I have to figure out the ins and outs of it. But if someone has, a glucose monitor, then they can eat and see how it's affecting their body. Like in real time, you can eat and then be like, oh no, my blood sugar is going up, So
Yeah.
I think just helping people see that and really understand that can be a key factor. So there's a few parts of this company that I want. I want the insurance side, the healthcare side, the education side of it, and then the community. Now we're creating, grocery stores and different incentives and all these things to help people create this community, and faith, at the end of the day, I do want God to be a part. I mean, this is going to be God's company. This is going to be God's journey. And I'm walking the way that he wants me to walk, hopefully, saying my prayers that I am. But, at the end of the day, that's what I want.
Yeah.
Okay. That's kind of where I am right now. With that, there's a lot that goes into it. I need a lot of support and a lot of financial backing and a lot of people that can help me to know how,
Okay.
right? Because I don't even know how to start a company. I did file for my first LLC, which is great. But I mean, outside of that, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Okay. Is that okay?
It's good.
Okay. So anyway, so that's kind of my passion in that side of things. When I first left medical school, my dad was like, hey, why don't you try modeling? And I remember growing up, he's like, you should be in broadcasting or things like that. I was like, I'm not doing that. That's crazy. And then when I left medical school, I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll try. Maybe I'll do something along the lines. A friend of his wife took pictures of me, and I applied to a few agencies and they accepted me. And it's been really, really great. I've had incredible experiences so far, and it's been fun because it's kind of like a creativity side, something that we were talking about before. And it helps me. I feel like I've always had this creative side, but this is letting me explore it.
Yeah.
Putting on a show and a production and having a persona. I can do that in that field because it's fun. It's fun, and when you go to these productions, especially big ones, you feel like a princess. I mean, you sit there and they like do your hair and your makeup, and you just kind of like sit there and you talk to them and you get to know them. And I've met incredible people with incredible life stories, near-death experiences. And like, these are like people like my hair and makeup artists, that just have these beautiful stories. And what I love about it, like you're meeting so many people from so many different walks of life. And, so that's a super interesting side that I'm exploring. And then I also sit dogs and watch dogs, which is fun because I love animals. So I kind of get to have that side of things as well. And Biggie over here, he loves having friends over. So whenever we get to watch a dog, like he's in heaven.
Yeah.
And then I also teach insurance classes, which is great. And like I said, it's teaching these classes is incredible because I get 8 hours with these people and I get to help them, walk them through what the test would be like, how to take the test, content. I'll walk, and teach them, which is always, I love teaching. You guys probably see my TikTok. It's all about education. I always love teaching and meeting people and talking. So like that kind of combines it all together as well. But that's where I am right now. I know that's a lot.
That's okay. I have a couple questions
Okay.
as we head towards the end of the show.
Yeah.
But I have a couple questions, and the last question I always ask is the same question to everybody. It's the theme of the show. But throughout everything, what have been some of the biggest challenges you faced? and how did you get through them?
Okay, so a lot of challenges I've had have come from other people. You know,
Okay.
when I left medical school, I was like, holy cow, you're leaving something that is going to be stable one day,
Yeah.
that's going to give you this, that, and the other. It's going to give you, an MD at the end of your name. It's going to give you so much. Why would you leave? So a lot of doubt and a lot of just people being unsure and really telling me that, like not keeping it to themselves, but like people love to share their opinion. So
Oh, yeah.
I've heard a lot of opinions about what
We talked about that.
and we talked about
Everyone's
that.
going to tell you you're doing something wrong.
Everyone's going to tell you you're doing something wrong. And again, like I do not have it figured out. And I know I still have such a long journey, but every obstacle that I've come to, I say my prayers and I say, okay, God, if this is what you want, open the door. If it's not, close the door.
Yeah.
And I've found so much peace and so much happiness through that because I know like my life is so crazy and stressful right now. Like, I'm barely making money to pay rent and, get food, but I have this huge idea of what I want. It doesn't make sense at all. And it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to anyone I tell it to. Knowing that it's not only my plan, that there's a bigger purpose to this, that at the end of the day, God has my back. That at the end of the day, I have a friend that I can say, hey, look, I'm scared. Hey, look, I don't know what's going on. And he always gives me reassurance. I pray, hey, God, I really need money. And then I'll get a shoot the next day.
Yeah.
Hey, God, am I going down the right path? Is this where I'm supposed to? Is this your plan for me? Am I just making this up in my head? And then I'll meet someone, that'll just, I remember one time driving around the airport. I was trying to pick up my parents from the airport and I was driving around waiting for their flight to come in. And I got to the point where I was like, oh my gosh, I've been driving around for like 15 minutes. Like, I'm just going to stop. So I find this gas station and I stop. And Biggie, my dog, is sitting in the car. And we get out of the car and this guy comes up to us. And that whole time that I was driving around, I was in tears praying, God, what am I doing? Where are you? Where am I? Like, I'm so lost and confused. I get out of the car. I meet one very sweet family. The next guy I talk to comes up to me and I don't even know how we started talking, but he worked at NASA. My grandfather worked at NASA. And this guy was the most incredible guy I've ever spoken to. He has done incredible research and things that I don't think I can technically say on.
Yeah. We'll just keep it under, right?
Yeah. But like what he was telling me, he's had near-death experiences. And I remember when I first told him, I was like, look, I have all this stuff going on. I'm so nervous and scared. And like, I don't even know where I'm supposed to be. I don't know why I said that to him. Like, I can't even remember why that thought came out, but it did.
Yeah.
And he's like, just pray, like keep God first. Like you're doing the right thing. And he said it so nonchalantly. Like he was like, yeah, like it all works out. And like the devil, like he's going to try when you're getting close to something good, he's going to try hard to try to move you away from that. But like, just keep God first. Like that's the only thing that you can do.
Yeah.
And always say your prayers. And what are the odds that I meet someone that just says that to me? That just, I've been sitting in the car crying and that's, who I meet when I get out of the car.
Yeah.
And he, and again, like he told me so many other things and so many things about, his experiences and his life and, that just related so much to what I needed to hear. And it's just like, okay, God, I hear you. I see you. And like, and this whole thing about God and religion and faith is newer to me because I, growing up, I was raised Catholic. We actually went to a Polish monastery growing up with monks.
Nice.
So that's kind of where I grew up. And it was interesting, but I went because mom said I had to. And every time we'd go to church, I'd get tired and I wouldn't want to be there. And, you're like looking up and like, counting the lights and like doing whatever else to like not really be at church. And then I went through, I don't know, see, this is kind of like do we have time? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, you're good.
you're like, please, not another
No,
story.
no, you're good. You're good. You're good. We got time.
Okay. Because I can talk.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from because I grew up Catholic
Okay. Yeah.
and heavily Polish family.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. So I know exactly probably where this story is gonna go.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, let me rewind to like when I was younger. When I was younger, and this is something I've never, I've told a few people, but like, again, this is all very new. So when I was younger, I used to like see shadows. Hear me out.
Okay.
I don't have schizophrenia. I'm not, I don't have any mentally, I don't have any mental things going on. At least that I know of. No, I'm kidding. I'm sane. Okay. But I used to see these shadows out of the corners of my eye and they would scare me. And if I would pray, I wouldn't see them. If I didn't pray and I wasn't, solid and if I wasn't praying, they would be there.
Yeah.
And it was scary and I didn't know what it was. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And then throughout my life, I had a few, weird experiences. One of them in particular being, I was dating this guy who it was very bad for both of us. And I remember calling an Uber one night and lamenting to this Uber driver about my situation. And she was like, you need to stay away from him. And I was like, yeah, obviously. And he's crap right now. And she's like, no, you really need to stay away from him. And I was like, okay. And then she started telling me all these things about my life that I had, there was no way that she would have known.
She would have known, yeah.
Any of this stuff. And I was like, how do you know that? I'm in tears. It's a Uber driver. I'm like, how do you know this stuff? And she's like, well, God's telling me. And I was like, oh, he's talking to you on the phone right now? Like, that's crazy. Like, what are you saying to me?
Really?
Yeah. Like, I was so like taken to, I didn't even know like how to interpret that, but I was just in tears and I was like, okay, I get it. I'm done. And she drops me off at my dorm. It was my freshman year. And it was my freshman year. So I run upstairs and I call this guy and I was like, we're done. I'm done with this. I'm over it. Bye. Hang up the phone, get in bed. And I say my prayers and I say, okay, God, that was what now? Like, what now? What am I supposed to do? And again, I am sitting in bed and I get a vision of like, I've never had this before. I've never had it since, but I get a vision of this guy's bathroom with blood all over the floor.
A random guy?
The guy that I was hanging out with.
Oh.
And with blood all over the floor. And it was like, I can't even describe this vision because it was like really weird. Like, again, I've never had it before or since.
Fun.
And it was like, if someone's like punching you in the arm over and over, you'd be like, stop, like stop punching the arm. That's how this image felt. It just like popping up in my head over and over again. I was like, what's going on? So I get up and I call this guy and I'm like, dude, like, you gotta tell me what's going on. Like, I don't know if I'm going crazy. I don't know if I'm like having a manic episode. I don't know what's going on. What are you doing? Where are you? And I said, where are you? And he goes, I'm in my bath. And then he just starts crying. And he said, how did you know to call? How did you know to call? And I was like, I don't know. I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, I had a vision of, blood all over your bathroom.
Yeah.
Like, what am I supposed to say? I'm not going to say that. I was like, okay, like, stop. Like, whatever you're doing, stop and get out. And, we need to talk. And the rest of that story, I would share with you, but I'm not.
Yeah. We'll talk about it later.
But yeah, so, I had these repeated experiences in my life that were scary, very scary. And that's just a few of them. And there were a few more that just like scared the crap out of me to the point where I was like, I don't want to be connected at all. Don't talk to me. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to touch it. Nothing. And so I kind of fled away from faith and religion and all of that because I was so scared of it. And I didn't know what it was. And, all these different things were happening and it terrified me. And then in college, I fell into that going out and partying and having a bunch of sex and meeting all these different guys and, going and like to the point where my friends didn't even know what I was doing because I knew it was.
You had those two parts, those two vibes. Yeah.
Yeah. I knew it was wrong, but I feel like I had to do it. Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's wrong, but like, I had to do this. Like, I had to go.
Feels good. And
And it was just such a weird time. And I would cry. I'd be with these guys, and then I wouldn't even want to look at them. I'd be like, "Can you leave? Like, don't, like, just get out. Like, I'm done. Get out." And I would just cry, and I'd be like, "God, like, what am I doing? Like, I'm screwing up." And then I know that I'm screwing up, and then I get up the next day and I do it again. Like, what am I doing? And it was such a depressing time in my life. And I remember just wanting to like get away, like just go drive off into the woods and just like sit by myself and just think and pray and figure out what was going on. But like, obviously I couldn't just drive off into the woods by myself. So that's actually why I got Biggie.
okay.
Yeah. I got my dog because I was like, we can do it together.
Yes.
Still, no, still, yeah, probably not. But yeah, I was just so lost, and I felt like I was lost, and I was hurting, and I didn't know why or how to fix it. My senior year comes around, and I had all random roommates. That's another story. But I had all random roommates, and one of them, and they were all amazing people, but one of them in particular was just the most beautiful soul ever. She
Yeah.
was so spiritually sound, and she was just this incredible person. And there was no way that like it just happened by accident. Like the things that she's done and helped do, like in our community and everything, like she has so much to give, so much love and so much everything to give.
Yeah.
And the fact that she was my roommate is just crazy. And she's 2 years younger than me. And I remember one night sitting there and just crying to her and being like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm so lost and confused, and I'm having sex and doing all this stuff that I know is wrong, but I can't stop it. Like, I can't stop. And she just showed me so much love. And she was like, look, like, let's pray together. Let's do this together. Like, it's going to be okay. Like, you need to feel love from another source.
Yes.
Like, you need to find love through God, and it can't be through what you're doing right now. And she gave me a Bible, and she wrote me this beautiful letter. And I remember, she set up this event at Florida State University,
Okay.
and it was called Unite FSU.
Okay.
And she saw it at another campus, and she contacted them and was like, how do we bring it here? And like 300 something people were baptized the night that she had. I mean, it was just this incredible event.
Wow.
And at that event, there was this speaker who was like, look, everyone has their 2%. You're like, hey, I'm a pretty good person. I'm going to heaven. These are all the things that, I'd go to heaven for. But what's that 2% that like, oh, if I don't go to heaven, this is probably
why.
that's probably fine, right? So it's like, that's 2%. Like, so they were like, you have to let go of the 2%. And they're like, look at whoever's next to you, make sure it's like someone of the same gender, and tell them you're 2%. Because when your 2% is out there, it's harder for it to reoccur. So I turned to my roommates, and I was dating this guy, and his mom didn't have anyone to turn to. I mean, yeah, so he didn't have anyone to turn to. So he sent her over next to me. And I was like, holy cow. And I turned to her and I tell her, my 2%, that I was having sex, that I had an issue with sex. And that I, would almost like curse God's name during it. Like, and it was a weird, like I wouldn't, not out loud.
Yeah.
It was like, I knew it was bad, and I just didn't want to like have any connection to it. So I'd just like get out. But then that's what it was really weird. It was a really weird time. I don't even know how to explain it. It was just super weird.
Okay.
And I told her all of this. And I told her, I was like, look, this is what's going on. And then I was just in tears. And I remember that night getting in the shower, and I was like, holy cow. I just told my boyfriend's mom that I had a problem with sex. That's probably like, what? Like, who does that? Who tells their boyfriend's mom that,
Yeah.
like that is probably the worst person I could have told. But also I feel like the best.
You felt vindicated.
Yeah. It was probably the best because it's like,
It's out there.
that's the
It's out
last
there.
person that I would want to tell.
Exactly.
Right. And that's who God's letting me tell first,
Yeah.
So, I told her, and then after that, it had just been a journey of like, you know, learning about God and learning about Jesus and going through this journey. And then I started to see things that were good. What I saw wasn't bad anymore. I saw these beautiful miracles, and I saw how good God is and how much love you can feel through him. And I
Yeah.
think even friends of mine were coming, and seeing Jesus and God. I mean, like literally one of my friends, she comes up to me one time and we met at a bar. We're at this bar called Hooligan, and it's like a sports bar. And
I
there's
think I know that
TVs.
bar.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's TVs all over.
Yeah.
And she's saying there, she's like, look, like I kind of want to learn about God. And like, and she wasn't raised religious. She had no idea what I had been going through and that
Yeah.
I was learning more about it as well. But she was just talking. I hadn't seen her in like a year maybe. And she was like, look, like I keep seeing all this stuff like that I want to learn more about God and religion and faith.
Yeah.
And like, it's scary because all the stuff I see on TikTok is like, oh, if you do this, you're going to hell. Oh, you can't do this. Otherwise you're going to hell. And I remember sitting there, I was like, wow, Jesus. I was like, if you want her on your team, let her know. I was like, she is such a beautiful, kind, loving soul. Like, let her know she'd be an incredible warrior, and I'm praying as she's talking to me. And then we start talking, and I was like, look, don't listen to the TikTok stuff. It's about love. And this is something that she came to the conclusion about it on her own. She's like, look, I just know that I'm here to love. And I was like, yes, that is it. That's what it is. At the end of the day, that's what it is.
That's your soul's purpose.
Yes, your soul's purpose is to love. That's what God is. It's love. He's love. And she's telling me this. I was like, Jesus, just show her who you are. And we're sitting there and I'm talking to her about it. And she goes, Jules, turn around. And on the big screen behind me, in a sports bar, on the big screen behind me, it says, Jesus is sitting at the table with you. And like during this conversation. And it was just the most amazing thing. And then two or 3 weeks later, she called me and was like, I was on my knees praying this morning. Like, she's like, I was on my knees, like giving myself to God this morning, like praying and just to hear her say that because she's such a beautiful, kind person.
Yeah.
Like for her to say that and to see your friends' lives change. They're coming to this and seeing the goodness and the glory just the same way that it changed you. There's nothing better. There's nothing better than knowing that and feeling that. And having a part in seeing your friend change in that way.
Yeah.
And then even my grandfather, he was raised Jewish, but then, kind of fled away from it because he had a tough life and was like, God wouldn't let all these things happen if he were there, like he's a bad God then, and he just kind of left faith and religion. And one day he hadn't been down to see us in years, and he came down for my dad's birthday, and I'm sitting in the living room doing a Bible study, and he comes in, he goes, hey, what are you doing? Now he had Parkinson's, okay, and he was an avid swimmer when he was younger. He was exercise, he would exercise and do all these things, and he was an avid swimmer. And when he came down, we took him in the pool, and you wouldn't even know he had Parkinson's. I mean, like when he was walking, he had to use like a stroller and all this stuff. When we took him in the pool, he was just like such an incredible swimmer, and you wouldn't even know. And he had been in the pool like 15 years, and beautiful to see. And okay, so this morning I was sitting in the living room doing a Bible study. He goes, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm doing a Bible study. He goes, well, what is that? And I was like, well, why don't you sit down? I'll tell you. And I was able to tell him about God, about Jesus, about everything that morning. The next day he passed away. And I remember at the very end of the conversation, he goes, do you really believe in this? He said, do you really believe in this? And I said, yes, pop up, I do. Yeah. I was like, I do believe in this. I was like, at the end of the day, if you're right and there's nothing there, okay, whatever. But if
it's about my grandpa.
Yeah, do you?
Yeah.
I was like, if I'm right, I was like, you have so much to lose, but you also have so much to gain if you just accept it. Like, all you have to do is say his name, like, Jesus, that's it. Like, I know you're there. I know you're here. Like, help me. That's it. That's all you have to say at the end of the day. The next day he passed away.
Yeah.
The next day he passed away. What? And I remember praying, I was like, God, like, did I have that? Like, what just happened? Like, I just lost my grandfather. And I had that conversation with him the night before. Is that for a purpose? Like, did he hear me? Did he understand? Like, I know your plan is great and your plan is good, but like, I can't help but to question it right now, you know? And, but looking back at it, and I was like, wow, that's powerful. That's so powerful. I've never in my entire life been able to talk to him about any of that. What are the odds that that happens the day before he passes away? Like, God has a plan. God has a plan, and the plan's good. And like, there's so much more. And like, talking about religion and faith and all of that, like, I don't even like to say religion because I don't think that.
No, it's
No, it's not. We shouldn't tie God to a religion. We shouldn't tie Jesus to a religion because we created that religion. He didn't. And religion has created a lot of bad and negativity, and it gets a bad rep. Like, that's not God. God is love.
Yeah, we could do a whole other show on that.
Yeah, right. I was like, this is not what we should tie him to. That's not fair to him. He created all of this, and we're going to tie him to a religion. We're going to put him in a box. No. A box that has created evil? No. And like, so just, I guess more like spirituality and having a connection and love. At the end of the day, it's love. It's all about love. So my favorite thing to do is go and watch those near-death experiences. Because I was like, we're going to learn anything. Because no one really knows what's next. We have revelation in the Bible. But at the end of the day, like, it doesn't give us much. Like, we see a few things in there, but like half of it's like, oh, he ate the scroll. And it's like, why did he eat the scroll? Like half of it's like weird stuff they're talking about in Revelations that no one understands. So it's like, we don't really know what's next. If someone tries to claim that they know what's next, I don't think you should listen to them. But these people who've had these near-death experiences, no, right? They're the closest thing that we have to really knowing what's next because they've been there. And all of them talk about this love. All of them talk about the importance of that. They don't talk about these rules and these laws that you need to follow and all these different things. No, they just like about love. My whole purpose is to love and to share this love. And like throughout my life, that's what I want. That's why. I could be homeless on the street. I could be living in a studio apartment. With like, spaghetti in the like that's it. And it's okay if I am able to share love throughout my life.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. If that's what God gives me and that's all I need, then that's okay. And I've settled that in my heart. Like, I don't need an abundance of things to be happy, an abundance of people and all these different, awards. And, I don't need that to be, I don't need money to be happy. I need love. And I need to share the love that I have because what I've felt from God, I want to share with the world. Like, there's nothing more powerful than that. Like, this is such a small portion of our life here on earth. We have so much longer after this. Why wouldn't I want to tell that? Why wouldn't I want to share that with people?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. And it might just be what you just said.
Yeah.
But the last question I have for you is the theme of the show.
Okay.
Which is, you're good. No, you're good. No, this is going to be awesome.
Okay.
Right? But the last question I have for you is, and I'm excited to hear your answer, but like I said, it's probably going to be what you just said.
Yeah.
What is one thing you wish you would have known or you wish you would have learned earlier in life?
What I wish. That's tough because I am so appreciative of everything that I've been through. Like, it has been such a journey and a struggle. And I appreciate it all. And I don't think that if I didn't have those experiences, I wouldn't have understood them the way that I understand them now. Something that I wish that I guess.
Or wish you could tell your younger self.
Tell yourself. Yeah.
That's a good way to rephrase it. What's something you wish you could tell your younger self?
Just to love everyone. Don't judge. It's not worth it. I would express the importance of, you're here for 80 years. Then what? What do you, on your deathbed, what do you want? Do you want a bunch of money? Do you want a bunch of family of friends, awards, all these different things. What do you want to give? What do you want to leave? You know, do you really want to focus on worldly things? Or do you want to think outside the box? You know, do you want to work for someone, or do you want to change the world in your own way? I think these are all like little lessons that I would have, or little seeds that I would have put in my mind when I was younger.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't think I would have understood them when I was younger. I don't think I would have appreciated them the way I do now. So, I mean, the biggest thing that I would tell anyone is just to love. The biggest thing is that at the end of the day, love, because love is so much deeper than we think it is. We put love in a box, just like we do with everything else. We put love in a box and say it's a word and a feeling. It can't be just a word and a feeling, because love is God. We know that love is God. We know that when we share love with someone, it's so much deeper, because it creates a cascade of events that comes from that. So love can't just be a feeling. It can't just be a word. It has to be something way more. It has to be something that we fight with. You know, like we fight against hatred and all these different things. Love is light. You know, like I think we don't fully understand love. I don't think we do.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's something that I would just express to myself. Like, just love. It doesn't matter what they
There's your
did.
next research subject.
Right. Like, it doesn't matter what they did. It's just love. Just love them, because they didn't feel love somewhere. And that's why they reacted that way.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about love. And like all of these people who have these near-death experiences, they talk about love. They just talk about this overwhelming feeling of love. And a lot of them will come back and go into a depressive episode because they felt that was more real and more powerful than anything they've ever felt here. So it's like, it can't, it's so much more. So much more. Yeah. That's what I would say.
Okay. Awesome. That's a really good answer.
Yeah.
Like, I've heard a lot of them already. I don't know what episode we're on right now, but I ask everybody that same question. I've heard a lot of them, and a lot of them go into different details of advice they would give them younger selves or anything. But the thing I really liked about your answer was you started off with, every experience has made me who I am today. So like, I don't know if I would want to know something sooner or earlier in life.
Yeah.
Which is something that like, every time I ask the question, like somebody's going to say that. Somebody's going to say everything happened for a reason.
Yeah.
Or there was a plan. God has a plan.
Yeah.
Or everything made me who I am today. So I wouldn't change it. Nobody's said that yet, which is super weird.
Yeah.
But I love that, you know, and then the whole aspect of love, like I've done a lot of research on love. I've read a lot of books on love, read a lot of books on relationships and what love should be and what it's not. And we humanize it.
Yeah.
You know, we take the soul part out of it.
Yeah.
And what it is exactly what it's intended to be. It's that when you can see the balance of the universe, of the world around you, okay, the good, the bad, the ugly, the pretty, and everything just becomes beauty. It's not good, it's not bad, not right, it's not wrong. It's not ugly, it's not pretty. It just is.
Yeah.
That's love.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it's so interesting. And like you said, we don't know enough about it.
No.
It's just like our brains. Like we don't know enough about that. We don't know enough about ourselves and different, like we're still exploring all these avenues, but love is something that a lot of people have understood or tried to understand the physical part of it, the mental part of it, how it affects us emotionally and everything else. But the spiritual part of it is, it's like the ocean. It's almost untapped.
Yeah.
So awesome answer.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed having you on here.
Yeah, of course. There's one more thing I want to say.
Yeah, of course. And last
thing I
thing
would say is, again, just emphasizing that we are in a box. We're in a box and we keep all these worldly ideas and these worldly things and the right, the wrong. It's all societal based, what society you're in. Step out of the box. Step out of that, right? It's like, don't think so shallow in the sense of, getting all these likes on one post, or like, just focusing on like, something like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, there's so much more than what's here. Explore it.
Yeah.
Like I can't sit here and tell you what it is, but explore it. Want to know more. Like don't get stuck on social media and in work and get so busy in life that you miss what's really here. Because there's things that are so much deeper. There's so many background things that we don't fully understand.
Yeah.
Um,
That's great.
So
Yeah.
that's another thing that I feel like I've
Of
more
course.
recently come to the conclusion of.
Yeah.
Like that fight in your mind.
Yeah.
Like you think your mind is just sitting there like no, like there's so much more that goes into it, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I'll go on a whole nother tangent if I start.
Another episode.
Yeah, you're like, not right now.
But I mean, this is why I love doing this. This is why I
Yeah.
love having these conversations, is because, I mean, you're one of the youngest people I've ever had on the show. But you talk like you have an old soul
Okay.
almost. You've been through a lot,
Yeah.
and your soul, I'm not sure about the science behind it, but like the more you go through, the more experiences you have, the more mistakes you make, the more lessons you learn. Like that's where old souls come from.
Yeah.
Is you've just lived life. You've experienced things. You've seen the beauty. You've seen the creativity, versus the person who, like you said, is just for 40 years, they've done the exact same thing every day of the week. And on the weekend, they do the exact same thing to escape what they do during the week. So that nothing's changed.
Right.
And this is why I love having these conversations with people who have done incredible things, who have experienced incredible things. And like, you're still very young and there's so much to learn. There's so much to see, but I mean, you were able to go on and talk about these things with passion.
Yeah.
And just, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So for everybody listening, I'm going to put all of Giuliana's information in the show notes.
Yeah.
So you guys will be able to check her out on Instagram, on TikTok, anywhere else. We're going to start a GoFundMe for her business. It's going to be awesome.
What?
And
That'd be really cool.
we're gonna get it started. We're gonna get it started.
That'd be really cool.
Any last things you want to tell the audience?
Can I look at the camera?
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you guys for any support. I mean, even just giving me ideas will help. I'm, again, like you said, I'm so young. I'm 23. I just turned 23 on Sunday.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you. Yeah. So I don't know so much about the business world. Like I said, I was all into medicine. So like starting this, yes, I want to do it. I want it to be part of the future. I want to change the system, right? I want to be a part of that, but I don't know how. I have this plan. I don't know how to do it, but any help, any guidance, anything that I can get, I would really, really, really appreciate. Really, really appreciate. Yeah.
Of course. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Thank you.
We did it. We got it. The first in-person show. For everybody listening, check out the show. Check out more of the episodes.
Yeah.
Make sure to follow the show and keep smiling, keep striving, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode.
Bye, Ellen.